Network. And today, along with my fantastic, incredible deputy chair, we will be co-hosting our fantastic leadership panel. Louise, would you like to take a minute to introduce yourself as well, please?
Thank you, Hannah. That's lovely of you, as always. Yes, I'm Louise Berwick. In my day job, I'm the director of the South Yorkshire Primary Care Workforce and Training Hub. But as Hannah said, I also volunteer as the deputy chair of the Women's Network. And we've had an incredible day so far with all sorts of different speakers and all sorts of amazing topics. So I hope some of you have been with us for that, and really looking forward to the panel. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you very much, Louise. And that kind of reminded me as well to introduce myself for my day job as well. We were really carried away by this. So thank you so much. I am also the CEO of Thrive Social Capital, which is a social enterprise, and we help marginalized communities with employment. So without further ado, we have our fantastic panel of panelists over here already joined the session. So a little brief introduction. This panel brings together leaders shaping systems today alongside young women, which we're very excited about, who will shape the systems of tomorrow, because real progress happens when experience, influence, and the next generation comes together. Today's discussion is about power, progression, policy, and possibility, and how we ensure women in South Yorkshire are just not included in the future, but leading on it. I'm delighted, absolutely thrilled, I would say, to be introducing our guest speakers today. So we are joined by Mayor Ross Jones of Doncaster, whose leadership has been central to driving economic growth and opportunity across our incredible city. We're also joined by Katharine Hammond, who is the CEO of South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, and she is helping shape regional strategy, investment, and inclusive growth. From the NHS, we have ChiChi, who is a leader creating real opportunity and progression within one of the country's largest organizations. And more importantly, we're very thrilled to be joined by the Youth Advisory Board members, Alicia and Mabrookah, who are also representing the voices and ambitions of the next generation of women leaders. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ross Jones in. Ross, would you like to come in and give everyone a brief introduction about who you are? I'm sure every one of us know who you are, but we would love to hear more about you. Please, Ross.
So thank you for that introduction, Anna. I'm not certain everyone will know who I am, but I am Ross Jones. I am the elected mayor of Doncaster. And a little bit of background. So I was born the daughter of a miner, born in Asken, and still live nearby in Norton. And before getting involved in politics, I worked for over 30 years as an accountant and senior manager in both the public and private sector. When I became mayor, my first priority was to put Doncaster Council back on the right track. The council had been classed as dysfunctional, it was in government intervention, and it had let down local people and businesses. We've now changed that and put the council back on a stable footing. Within my first term, I led the council out of government intervention a year early, along with the hard-working staff. I believe at that time, Jo Miller and myself were the first female duo directly elected mayor and chief exec. So that was way back in 2013. I have a clear agenda for Doncaster. First and foremost, it's economic success. Bringing more highly quality, skilled employment to the city of Doncaster, along with improving education, modernising our care services to cope with the growing and ageing population. And since becoming mayor, I've seen improved educational outcomes and opportunities for our young people. And that's what we're here there for, to actually create a better life for all. Our young people are our future leaders. We've got to actually encourage them, give them the tools in their toolbox to go forward and get them to become inspired. And that is why my number one priority is reopening Doncaster Sheffield Airport. That's so important, both economically, job-wise, and actually aspirational to our young people. And today marks International Women's Day, a global movement to recognise social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women and to reaffirm our shared commitment to advancing gender equality. This year's theme, Give to Gain, highlights the importance of generosity, collaboration and support. When we give our time, knowledge, encouragement or resources, we help create opportunities that benefit everyone. Progress is strengthened through shared effort. Whether by challenging bias, supporting colleagues, mentoring others, or celebrating success, each one of us have a role to play. Even small actions can create a lasting impact. As we mark 115 years of International Women's Day, let us continue to support one another and work together to achieve the meaningful and lasting progress. I don't want to see young people entering today like it was when I entered. Back in 74, I entered local government. I entered the accountancy office. There was only 3 professional females in the whole of that office. Certainly changed now. We've got more females in the accountancy office, I would guess, than actually male. But that's a big change it's taken. But over how long? How long are we talking about? 50 years to get that change. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And we're losing such talent by not harnessing the talent and getting the gender equality right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that, Ros. What a powerful statement, and what a phenomenal journey. Obviously, being from the city of Doncaster, I've been following your journey, and you have been an inspiration for all of us, and your passion and ambition and vision for Doncaster is absolutely just what we need. So thank you so much for being the driving force and steering force behind this. Thank you. We will come back to you in a minute, Ross. Moving on, we have our next fantastic guest speaker, Katharine Hammond. Can we have Katharine come in, please?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Katharine. Yes, I
Hello.
can. Thank you so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it. Katharine, what a fantastic, we've been following your journey as well. So please, I will, without further ado, give you the stage. So please do tell us a little bit more about yourself. We'd love to hear it.
Well, thank you, Hannah. Thank you for the nice intro and for having me this afternoon. This is a very nice way to spend a part of a Monday, so I appreciate the invite. So my name's Katharine Hammond. I am Chief Executive of the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, as you can see from the very subtle signage behind my head. Combined authorities, for those of you who haven't come across us, we are kind of the bit between national government and local government. We're the filling in the sandwich, and our job is to think about the region of South Yorkshire. So we bring together 4 local authorities of Barnsley, Doncaster, Sheffield and Rotherham. And as a cherry on top of that, we have an elected mayor whose name is Oliver Coppard, who many of you will be familiar with. So I was actually not born in South Yorkshire. I was born in West Yorkshire in the very sunny city of Leeds. And as many young people do, I left the region as a teenager to go off to university. And as I came out of the other end of university, I thought, gosh, where are the opportunities for me in Yorkshire? And so I moved to London. I joined the civil service in my early 20s. And I spent 23 years walking the corridors of Whitehall in various different guises. So, but particularly I've spent a lot of time working in the criminal justice system, and then in later years on crisis management and national security, none of which I have to say are particularly female heavy disciplines in the public service, although a bit to Ros's point, improving and at some pace. But after 20 years away, I came back to the north about 4 years ago, particularly because I wanted to grow the civil service presence here, and then have made the jump across to a different but related part of the public sector. And what does CIMCA do, you might ask? Well, the things you will know us most for, I think, are driving growth in the region, and that can be anything from supporting really small businesses to bringing in large investments internationally. And increasingly, we have a really important role in public transport. So the tram system in Sheffield and Rotherham, if you use that, that is a company owned by us, and we're bringing the buses in-house to make sure that public transport really does deliver for the public. You might think that sounds a bit dull. I promise you it isn't. And it's really linked to your agenda of how we kind of design systems that work for women in particular. So that's it. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Katharine. What an inspiration. Just a very quick question for you before we move on. So what is inclusive growth truly? I mean, how would you define inclusive growth in South Yorkshire moving forward?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? It's a term we bandy around a lot, inclusive growth, and don't often pause on overly much. For me, it means that everybody can see the opportunity and there are no barriers in the way of you taking it. And that is a very simple statement, but an incredibly hard one to deliver, actually. There are all sorts of barriers that face women in this region, and I'm sure you'll want to get into those a little bit as the conversation delivers. But really, for me, it's about those barriers not being insurmountable. It's about being able to see the opportunity and take it wherever you find it.
I completely agree, 100%. Is there anything networks like ours can do better to help influence policy or policy decisions on our end that you think?
Well, policy making always responds to stories. That's my observation. That is as true if you're in the kind of national civil service as it is if you are working at a much more local level. So the visibility of the real stories about real people, I think, is something that you can always do. And allied to that, not being shy about telling those stories and making your voice heard. Systems respond to really clear and really consistent asks for change. Networks are absolutely brilliant at leveraging their messages through lots of different voices, and you've got a great opportunity to do that here.
I completely agree, and that ties in really well with the inclusive growth perspective as well. So thank you so much for that, Katharine. Really do appreciate that. And the next speaker would be ChiChi. If we can welcome ChiChi, please. ChiChi, would you be able to hear me, please?
Sorry, I have been on mute.
Oh, there you go. Welcome, welcome. It's a pleasure having you as always. You've been absolutely incredible. We do know all about your journey, but we'd like to hear all about it from you, ChiChi. So please do tell us more about what you do, who you are.
Thank you for the opportunity to come here today as well.
Yeah.
My name is ChiChi Ehosiem. Chinyere is my full name, but many people who know me call me ChiChi, and that's what my mom calls me anyway. So I'm not trying to make it easy for anyone here. And so ChiChi is the name I prefer to be called. So obviously I wasn't born in the UK, so I have migrated to the UK in 2007 to study for my master's degree in information technology at the University of Sunderland. So as love may have it, I found my husband here, and then I decided to settle here and progress as well. So back to what I do at the moment. So I work for the NHS, and my role is the transition lead and manager for the 16 to 25 young adult mental health service, which is the Sheffield Health Partnership University Trust. We were formerly called Sheffield Health and Social Care. That's what many people know. So in this role, what I do is to oversee and coordinate the transition of young people who are transitioning from the children and adolescent mental health service to the adult mental health service. So working with different teams across children and adult services, the voluntary sectors, education, families, and social care. And we know that the period of transition is a critical stage in a young person's life. So my role focuses on ensuring that the process is supportive, smooth, developmentally appropriate, and culturally responsive and person-centered. Also recognizing the important role that the families play in the young person's life, also making sure that the support that we provide is inclusive for supporting the young person's well-being and independence. With my professional background in occupational therapy, as many other backgrounds, I have experience in mental health and neurodiversity, and also worked across the sectors. Currently, previously, I worked as a transition lead and specialist autism practitioner with Sheffield Adult Autism and Neurodevelopmental Service. And also, alongside my clinical and leadership role, I serve as a staff governor within my trust. I also beyond NHS, I also lead in a wider system perspective as a governance member for the Sheffield Autism Partnership Board, working with the Sheffield City Council and partners to ensure that the voice of autistic people and their families help shape services and inform improvement across the city. So I've been involved in different sectors of life, but also people are the heart of everything I do. The community service is also important to me, and that is I serve as a women leader in my local church, my Sunday school, as a youth worker, and also I'm the founder of my secondary school alumni association. Along my personal and professional journey as well, I have also had to navigate challenges related to racism, bias, stereotype, but all those have built my experience in becoming who I am today. And they have strengthened me in my journey of resilience and deepened my commitment to equity, inclusion, and social justice. And I feel happy and delighted to be here today. On a personal note, I am a wife, mother of 3 children, including a neurodivergent child. So that makes me a carer for a teenager. And also, it also helps me to relate with many family experiences, fueling my passion and compassion in inclusive system. So at the heart of everything I do is commitment to equity and justice. Delighted to be here today and grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
An absolute pleasure having you here. And I have to say, on that note, ChiChi, you are probably the woman, one of the women with the biggest heart that I've ever come across. The amount, I mean, everything that you've just mentioned, the amount you give back to people, the amount you give back to charities, the amount of your own time that you give back to mentorships, it is absolutely incredible. And we'd love to hear a little bit more about it in due time. So thank you so much for taking up the time for coming in here today. Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can we invite the Alicia Din, who is part of our Youth Advisory Board at Thrive Social Capital, and we also work collaboratively with our Women's Network as well, with the Youth Advisory Board. Alicia Din, are you here?
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Din. Over the last few years, I've spent some time at Her Majesty's Treasury. I've also been a youth bid assessor with the Phoenix Way, and I've done placements with Henry Boot Construction. And right now, I'm a management trainee at Thrive Social Capital, and I'm also on a youth advisory board.
Thank you so much for that, Alicia. What an empowering, what a fantastic journey you've had. And I think that this is what is much needed for the younger people of the next generation, that help, that support, that opening doors. When we say we're opening doors for the next generation, we need to truly incorporate them into the workforce, give them mentorship opportunities. So what a lovely journey. Thank you for sharing it with us. And we will have some questions for you as well shortly. Can we have Mabrookah coming in as well now, please? Mabrookah. Hi, Mabrookah. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come over today.
The way the next bit's going to work is we've got some general questions first of all, which we'll post to the panel members, and hopefully that will get the discussion going a little bit. And then there'll be a slot for the audience to put some questions forward to the panel. So we'll get going on that. So my first question that I've got to put to the panel is, what gives you hope about the future for women and girls? With everything that we've just said, and we've spent a whole day so far looking at what the barriers might be and how difficult things often are. But let's start with the positive. What gives you hope? Can I ask that question to Roz to start with? Oh, she's got a hand up as well. There you go.
Thank you. My hope is that our young people coming in to public sector, and any job really, is that the barriers are continuing to come down, but often not quickly enough. And therefore we want young people to be aspirational and actually know that if the opportunity is there, they should be considered alongside other genders coming forward to take on the role of leadership, of power and empowerment to all, working with people in the place is so essential that it's actually getting hold of it and driving it forward. And do you know what? If the barriers are there, help push them over. Continue to strive to push these barriers over and get your voice heard. Because one of the difficulties often to get a female voice heard is you have to become more assertive to be considered that you can actually put back as much as any other gender going forward.
Thank you, Ross. Yes, completely agree. Sometimes it's just about confidence, isn't it? It's about making sure that you do put yourself forward, which is often easier said than done. Katharine, can I ask you the same question?
I think my answer actually bounces really nicely off Ros's, because I do believe that old saying that you can't be what you don't see. But I think across this region, there's a really fantastic set of female role models. There's across all various sectors, particularly strong in the NHS actually, but across the public sector, some amazing women leading manufacturing firms. So there is a particularly strong cadre of people that I think provide that ability to really see what you can achieve when you put your mind to it. That always gives me a huge amount of hope that there is something really clear to aspire to.
Great stuff. Thank you. ChiChi, have you got anything to add?
It's really, really interesting that Rose talked about young people, and which is an area I represent, and also a passionate thing for me, because I know that young people are the future, and the future that we talked about is now anyway. So what gives me hope is seeing how motivated many young people are in engaging in areas like, I do go to apprenticeship workshops, career events, and I see that young people want to really, really be part of what's going on. And even within the NHS, young people are being curious to understand what areas and what careers are there within the NHS, how their voices will be heard in leadership and shaping initiatives. So it gives me a lot of hope, especially with young girls, girls, overcoming barriers of, saying this is not the role for women and this is the role for women. They are really overcoming those barriers, that trying to learn, trying to step up. And also from my background as well, from the ethnically diverse background, I have seen a lot of young people asking questions about their background, with families who have come here, have children, and also building confidence in those families, and young people doing a lot of things in schools and colleges where I see. So it gives me a lot of hope that there is future for the young girl, there is future for young people as well.
Thank you. That's fantastic. So going to the young person, or young people on the call, what do you think about that? Alicia, have you got any thoughts on that? Have you got hope for the future?
I think I do have hope for the future because of the increase in opportunities that we've been getting in things such as youth advisory boards, and then things such as this that shows that our voices are starting to be valued, and that there's more representation of young people and women in things like this.
That's great, thank you. I think it's one of the things that I've got sort of teenage and slightly older children, and you find that you learn so much from them as well as them hopefully learning from you, and when you bring that together, it's a powerful mix. My next question then is, what advice would you give your younger self if you were starting out today? So the things that people have learned along the way, what would that be? We'll go back to Ross to start, please.
I think perseverance, as I said, when I first started in the accountancy office, there's only 3 females there, the rest was all male. And it's perseverance, showing them that you can and will do the job. And I think the thing that always worked for me is thinking, I will show you that I can achieve this. And I did, and continued to progress up the ladder through that. But more importantly, it's actually learning from experiences and seeking to overcome people's perceptions of jobs and gender. I've seen that so often. I think engineering is a big one. And I've always strove to get young females actually applying for these jobs, because it's not all about a spanner and greasy works. There's so many jobs in engineering. And our UTC that started up here in Doncaster, I'm delighted to see they've nearly got the gender split. The nearly is about 40% female, 60% male at the moment, but it's gradually creeping up. And that's what I want to see. So everyone has the opportunity to go forward and aspire to what they want to achieve. And sometimes people are far more akin to actually undertake engineering than any. And I would say that females actually have many advantages because they cannot actually work along and do 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. Well, this is very much what people perceive is male just focus on one part.
Thank you, Ros. Katharine?
Yeah, it's a really good question, this, isn't it? I think the thing I would say to my younger self is you will never regret standing up for yourself in a scenario where you feel like you're being unfairly treated or unfairly disadvantaged, but you may regret not standing up for yourself. So I think there is really something about owning, speaking up, using your voice, finding your own way to do that, which is incredibly important. Particularly, I would say to my younger self, where you find yourself in situations where you might be the first woman in a job or in a team, finding a way to do that which still allows you to build relationships and be effective, but doesn't leave you with that regret is the most important thing you will figure out how to do. That would be my piece of advice.
Thank you. ChiChi?
And I would say focus, young people, me, my younger self, focus, understand the system, and also be part of the system. Because oftentimes, I know I was having a chat with someone the other day, and she mentioned how young people are not really vast knowledgeable about the digital world. And we thought that young people know the digital world very well. And I really didn't feel good with the answer because I know that young people are so focused on technology these days. But the question is, what are you doing with that technology? What are you trying to achieve? So focus, have a vast knowledge of the system. Don't shrink yourself in a bit to accommodate anybody, but you need to understand the system before you can get your voice heard, get your challenge anything that is not going well. And also sometimes young people wait for them to be invited to a program. Sometimes you might not even be invited to that event. Create your own. Create your own. From lived experience, you'll be able to shape leadership and see what you want to see. Building confidence, first of all, at a point where confidence will no longer be, will not be an optional thing for you because you already know the system. You come in and you are valuable and your voice is heard and you engage in co-production. And I think that knowledge, that information is very important for a young me to be able to navigate the system and be part of the influence in that system.
Fantastic. It's just reminding me when you're talking, I know that when we first started this Women's Network, one of the reasons we started it was because somebody in the ICB that we worked with had done her master's around opportunities for women. And one of the things she said, and it really stuck with me, was when women apply for jobs, they feel they have to meet 100% of the job description and all of the, all of the asks, whereas men, if they can meet about 50%, they'll apply. So it's that whole thing, isn't it, about having that confidence to just go for it and apply and work it out when you go along. But yeah, interesting. Thank you. Oh, Mabrookah, are you back? Let's see if you're working this time. Fingers crossed. Yay, we can. Thank you. Yes. Wonderful. So can I ask you the question then? We're just talking about what advice you would give to your younger self now. Being 16, that might be slightly different from you, but what have you learned so far? What do you think you can reflect on to this point in time?
I think starting my youth social action journey from 13, I think I've come a long way. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is learning not to be too hard on myself and compare with other people. I remember when I was like 13, 14 and I first got involved in speaking events and I was very nervous. I'd stutter or my mind would go blank. And I remember at the end just being so upset with myself, so angry, just not understanding why everyone else could speak better than me. But I've realized that it's just something that you learn over time. You learn to speak better with experience and obviously getting involved in opportunities like this. So that's the lesson I've definitely learned so far.
Fantastic. You see wisdom already. Fantastic. Alicia?
I think I'd tell my younger self to not be afraid to speak up if you've got a different opinion. I think because young people see things in a different way to how other people may see it, and sometimes they might think that their opinion's wrong if they see it in a different way. But I think that their ideas should still be valued as well.
Great stuff. Fantastic. Right. So I've got one more question before we open the floor. So my final question is, who is a woman who influenced your path and what did you learn from her? So give you a minute to think about that one. It is one of the themes of the day, really, about you know, who it is that we can look up to, and you know, the time and support that women give each other. Ross. Ross, do you want to come in?
Certainly. One woman who's very much influenced me, and she's only shortly demised, but it was Bobby Roberts. She was involved in so many different aspects within Doncaster that you couldn't believe it, from driving forward the Deaf College to actually taking part in many different organisations, be it the Lions, be it actually the cancer research, all of those. And her answer was, go forward, do your best you can for each and every one. And remember, you're not always right. It's not always black or white. There's sometimes grey elements, and don't forget those grey elements to carry everyone along with you. And those words from Bobby have always stuck with me. And so, yes, she's quite inspirational, and she did so much for the city of Doncaster that you can't not step back and think she's greatly missed and a great inspirational lady that travelled the world actually assisting people learning the sign language for deaf people. She was such an inspirational person, and she started from nursing, lived abroad for many, many years. Her and her husband was here in Doncaster, but she was amazing and is greatly missed, as I say. So she's the inspiration, and it's Ross, it's not always white or black. There are grey areas that you need to cover as well.
Fantastic. That's a lovely story. Katharine?
That is a great story. I'll pick one a little bit kind of more personally closer to home, maybe. So my very first boss as a very junior civil servant is the person I would pick. Her name was Katrina. She is to this day a very good friend of mine. And the thing that Katrina did, well, she did two things which have always stayed with me. Firstly, she was kind as well as effective. She didn't allow herself to be pushed into a kind of manner of leadership which did not feel okay to her. And she really stuck with that value, and she was incredibly effective. She was a fantastic leader, but she did it very much with a vein of kindness and humanity, which was different and very inspiring to me as a kind of 23-year-old. And the second thing that she did was pay it forward. So she's, I think, the first person who kind of really encouraged me towards schemes I hadn't thought about, who said you should lift your sights here, who sort of helped me prepare and take those opportunities. So I owe her a kind of massive personal debt for turbocharging the young version of me.
Thank you. That's wonderful. ChiChi?
I would say a lot of women have really inspired me, but I'm just going to focus on one critical time in my life. I've come to this country, you know, working in the financial service sector. And like Mabrookah said earlier on about the confidence to speak up. And I know that we've had those barriers that we are navigating, you know, being a migrant in this country, things like your accent, but you know that within you, you have the capacities to do a lot of things. So I have approached one of our senior manager, who is the overall senior manager, about an issue. I've been to her office to discuss this with her. And I told her something that is not related to anything. But then there and then she picked up on me. She said, you've got something, you've got a spark that nobody has. And I talked something about inclusion and diversity. And I said to her, if you wanna establish in today's world, in today's business, you have to be very inclusive and diverse. And she looked at me, and what she did to me was she supported me to lead on initiatives to support Black, Asian, minority colleagues in their career progression, to set up initiatives like a career personal development empowerment project. And I led all these initiatives, and I expanded to even lead what we call the Helping Britain Prosper for Lloyds Banking Group, where I supported with rebuilding schools and colleges, library, like White Ways Primary School Library. I rebuilt it, raised funds, and also led a lot of financial education and financial education initiatives, and also volunteered through the Sheffield Council for every Sheffield child articulate and literate as part of corporate social responsibilities. So I did a lot, and also became a school governor with Astray Academy, where I was supporting the send and safeguarding side of things. In fact, she pushed me, and she said, ChiChi, you're going to go here today, you're going to go to Manchester, you're going to go to London. And she boosted my confidence, and I believed in myself. And since then, I've never looked back in bringing people and being a role model for others.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, to think that we can be those role models to other people, the people that we look up to. We can do that to other women and girls. So fantastic. Alicia?
I'd probably say that the woman that's influenced me would probably be my mom. And I say that she's taught me that, like, in order to break down barriers, that you have to take a leap of faith and, like, take risks sometimes, even if you don't know what the outcome's going to be, or, like, you don't know if it's going to work the way that you want it to. Sometimes you've just got to do it and, like, risk it, basically.
Fantastic. All the mums in the room were like, oh, great stuff. Mabrookah?
I've been very lucky to say I've been inspired by so many women, especially women who look like me. It's amazing to be able to see that they are able to get into the spaces I've always dreamed of. But I feel like I'm going to also have to say my mum as the woman who inspired me the most. She was a single mother, and she's always taught me to be determined and persevere. When me and my brother were younger, she was still looking after us and still managing to do a PhD alongside it. And I think seeing my mum overcome the barriers of obviously being a single mum, yet still having time to dedicate to her academics, has been so inspiring to let me know that women, we can do it all. We can still have a career, we can still be, we can still have a family that we dreamed of. So.
Thank you. That's great. So thank you for all those thoughtful answers. Yeah, and it just makes you think all the more, doesn't it, that everything that Mabrookah just said, we can do that if we do that together, if we support each other in that journey, because it isn't easy. So I'd like to sort of open up for questions from the audience now. You've got an amazing panel here of people of all different ages with all sorts of different experience, but lots and lots of wisdom between them. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask? Obviously around the International Women's Day agenda, not political stuff. Victoria?
I have a question that I've been thinking about since Friday. So I happened to go see a show at the Crucible, the Ladies Football Club. And if you don't know what the show is, it's based on true story of a Sheffield women's football team that was created out of a group of factory workers during the war, during the First World War. And the sort of these women occupying spaces that they're not normally, and the factory owner really encourages them to play these football games, and then it kind of all comes crashing down, and the FA banned women from playing in certain stadiums. And I'd kind of left the play feeling a bit defeated, because I thought, well, they didn't, they got so far, and then there was a setback, and that was kind of the end. And I think my question is how do we respond to setbacks? How do we pick ourselves back up when we see things that look like reversal of how much progress we've made? Really big question, I know.
Who'd like to tackle that from the panel? Katharine?
I'm quite happy, but Katharine, please, if you want to go first, by all means do.
Happy to save you being first in the queue for once, Roz, if that's helpful. So I also saw that play last week and I thought it was amazing. So yeah, I really recommend it. What I took from it really was that there is real power in collective resilience when you have a setback. And there's a lot of kind of management talk and management theory out there about personal resilience, and I sort of think quite a lot of it is hokum. But what you get with a group of people with a similar objective is a massively amplified ability to see a setback, take it in your stride, figure out a path around it or over it, or a different direction that still gets you to the same kind of end point. And I thought that piece of theatre, which really focused on how they became a team, set that out really, really effectively for me. So I actually didn't walk out thinking, oh no, I walked out thinking how amazing they've got that bond that will get them through anything. Roz, passing to you, I think.
Thank you, Katharine. I think teamwork, and you're right, Katharine, it's people with the same desire to bring about alterations, improvements, and drive forward what they firmly believe in. And you see it all around you now. And I think our women's football team now have been quite inspirational, haven't they, since they've won? And I look in Doncaster and I see all the young girls' football teams now that's coming up. And it's amazing to see them. And their skills are superb. And, you know, I look at my granddaughter and she's saying, I want to go and learn football proper, Grandma. And I'm saying, I haven't got any more time to take you as someone else. Can't we find somewhere nearer? But I think it's about the driving force of a collective actually does gain momentum till people start listening, realizing and accepting change is inevitable. But change often doesn't come quickly enough for some of us.
Thank you both. I think yeah, it's nice to hear a different perspective on what I took from it. It was amazing. I would also recommend it to anyone. It's in for a couple of weeks, so if you're interested in the theatre and women's history in Sheffield.
ChiChi, were you going to add to that?
It was just a quick one, just to let you know that setbacks are not entirely negative sometimes in our lives. And like Ross said, people see things from different perspectives, especially in co-production, teamwork, vision have timelines for people, and it could be at that time they're not seeing it from the perspective where you're seeing it. And what it does, it challenges us to go back and think, how can we do something differently, or wait, so that people can see things. Like change doesn't happen easily, and everybody assimilate change differently. So at that time, it wouldn't be a setback. I think it would be you becoming more resilient to think, how can I do it differently? Who should I involve? What are the stakeholders? Who are the people who have influence in this? So I don't entirely think a setback is anything negative. It just makes us stronger and bounce back to see how we can do things differently.
Great stuff. Thank you. Got some more hands up. Rachel Hughes, you've got your hand up. You want to come in?
Yes, please. Hiya. Thank you. My name's Rachel and I'm chair of the Women's Network at CIMCA, so Katharine's organisation. Our network is fairly small and quite new within its sort of creation. And one of the things that we've been talking about a lot recently is intersectionality and making sure that we're as inclusive as we can be for people from various cultural backgrounds, neurodiversity, disability or caring backgrounds, etc. And I just wondered if anyone had any advice on how we can make sure that we're as inclusive as possible in terms of recruiting people to our committee, because that is something that we actually do struggle with, because obviously everyone's busy and it is on top of their day jobs. And two, just making sure that the women at the organisation feel included.
Anna?
Just on that note, hi Rachel, thank you so much for organising and facilitating for Katharine to be here today. We've had several conversations with both Rachel and Alice in the past. What we can do is we would love to connect you to the head of EDI and the deputy from our organisation, and we would be more than happy to progress with that conversation. Is that okay, Rachel?
That sounds great, thank you.
Anyone else from the panel want to add any ideas on that? Ros?
I think it's allowing staff to create the forums that they wish to see and facilitate that. And we've seen that with many different things coming forward, be it the females who's going through the change at the moment and how each other can support one another. We've seen our BMEs actually come together and being led, and it's actually facilitating that, listening to what they say and where we can actually bring about improvements from what they've said. We seek to do that.
Yeah, we are discussing sending out a survey and sort of asking the type of events and ways in which people want to be communicated with. So thanks, Ros.
Katharine?
I fear I was about to say exactly what Rod said, but in a slightly different way. So to me, the answer to your first question, Rachel, is you look for people with a passion, because they're the ones who'll make a real difference. And on the second, like, I've done a lot of inclusion work over the years, and the one thing that works regardless of who you are trying to make feel included is really listening to what they have to say and really behaving in a way which shows you understood it, even if it's not the same as your perspective. And if you sort of apply that rationale across the board, then people feel seen and heard, and actually that is a very big part of inclusion.
Thank you. ChiChi?
I think people may have heard about inclusion and diversity for so long that they feel it's just a tick box exercise. And sometimes when you want to include them, they just, what is it for me? What are you going to do with all this information? At the end of the day, what is the practical implementation? So I think actively including people is different from just including them on paper. And like Katharine said about passion is a great thing. Getting people who are passionate are good, but passion without being strategic will not get you where you want to go. So you got to get people who are passionate, but you got to be strategic in building your relationship, in mapping out stakeholders, and making sure that you're actively including people, hearing their voice, coming down, having a bottom-up approach. You know, not just sitting at the end and then dishing out things to people. Make sure that you know where they're coming from, their background, work with them, and let them be the voice. Let them be the voice in that co-production in what we want them to see. And that's where people will feel that they have been actively and holistically included in whatever thing that we are doing.
Thank you, that's great. Hopefully that's been helpful, and yeah, we'll all connect more, I think, on that one, and happy to help from the Women's Network, the South Yorkshire Women Inspired on that. Rhoda, you've got your hand up to come in.
Yes, I have. I just wanted to say that it was my privilege to have worked with some amazing young people in my previous role, and so I am so glad to see Mabrookah on here today. Just giving the shout outs to Mabrookah really, and saying that the work that they've done in terms of leading, championing, and being, setting the pace for what young people's voices and how powerful that can be in services, and how that can ensure that young people are being included, their voices are being heard, services are being changed, and tailored to meet young people's voices. It's amazing, and just giving a shout out to them and saying that I see what you guys are doing, and I'm so glad and just privileged really. So thank you.
That's lovely, thank you. That's a nice place to tie that section up, I think, there with that, because absolutely we, in the Women's Network, we really do want a strong young voice within the network. We want a diverse voice, and that includes young people as well as everybody else that we've talked about. So yeah, thank you particularly to Mabrookah and Alicia for being part of this panel, and yeah.
Louise,
fantastic.
can I?
Yes,
it's Brigitte. There is a question in the chat
Oh, okay,
I don't know
sorry.
if you've seen it. It's near the bottom.
I
Happy
haven't
to
seen
read
it, no. Okay, yes, Tanvir, yeah. My question to the panel members, how can we educators, coaches and trainers help your journey of growth further? What would help you navigate the study work environment better? And she's happy to help where she can. So anybody in the panel got anything around that? So particularly about growth for women and how to navigate the study work environment. ChiChi?
I think making reasonable adjustments for people, like someone like me, I represent the underrepresented people and marginalized people. Oftentimes, women are really, really excluded in different things, and they come across like super people, you know, and people who are quite independent and they can navigate the system. But understanding women from different perspectives, talk about biological perspective, phases of life, where women go through hormonal changes, adolescence, you know, navigating all those, and also looking at neurodiversity. You know, women mask a lot. They mask all those threats and challenges, and even in mental health. I work in mental health, and I understand the difficulties of understanding women and being able to provide the treatment that they need, because women always mask to meet that societal expectation. So in education, it could be like that. Looking at learning support, how can you provide that to women? Making that environment also psychologically safe for them, and also understanding that they are going through different phases of life. When you talk about coaches and I would say people in university, colleges, they're still young people, you know, and they need that environment to be included and supported in that journey. So making like opening up for approachability and understanding what women really want, and being able to make the right adjustment for them in the setting is really important.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? It's the adjustment that people actually want, rather than what you might assume people want, or you might assume that would work. So it's about really listening carefully and asking the question, so that you can marry up the need with the adjustment that you're going to make. Mabrookah?
Whilst I haven't been in the field of work yet, I'd like to speak from a perspective of still being in education. And I think definitely one of the things is making sure we have a strong network. I think for many women, knowing that there's women in, for example, your or different extracurricular activities, it makes you feel safe and welcome knowing that there are women like you. And I think another thing, if possible, is definitely mentoring, having people who have experience being able to give advice to young people. I've had experience with mentoring, and I would say it's a very beneficial experience, being able to see how to get into these spaces such as this, being able to learn skills such as networking, and mentoring sometimes gives you the opportunity to access these doors. So I think those are the two things.
Thank you very much. ChiChi, do you want to add to that?
Just wanted to add on what Mabrookah said about mentoring. You know, we've heard about mentoring many times, but I think we need to move from mentoring to sponsorship as well. It's a very, really important thing, especially for women. You know, Katharine was saying about, even if you're the only one in the room, you get your voice heard. But sometimes mentoring is guiding somebody, but sponsorship is also mentioning their names in the rooms where they are not. You know, we as leaders, women leaders, we are gatekeepers. You know, and what a gatekeeper does is to open the door, say to the person, come inside the room, let's show you how we do it. So we need that sponsorship. Might not be financial sponsorship, just supporting the person to get into those rooms where they cannot get to. So as women, in as much as we guide, coach, and mentor people, we should also sponsor them to be in those places where we have been, and we know that they can do better, they can do well when they get into those places.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to tie the session up in a minute. There's just one more thing I'd like to ask each of the panelists before we close. It's sort of around the theme for International Women's Day and the Give to Gain. So what I'd like to ask you all is, what one action might you commit to in the next 12 months that might shape what we talked about today for women for the future? So does anybody want to go first? I'm not giving you much time to think about that. Ross?
Mine is actually to promote women taking up all levels of management and helping support them and making them believe in themselves. And I think that is so, so important. Once you've got belief in yourself, you can learn many, many things, but it's the belief and the desire to take your beliefs forward. And so I would say that's what it is. Get them at all levels of different management and saying, if this is what you desire, go for it. And so going out to speak to youngsters within schools that's coming up and deciding what they want to do. And I've always said, it's not always got to be going strictly off to university. You can do it through the apprenticeship scheme as well, where you'll get the degree and be paid, because a lot of old-fashioned ideas, there's no ifs and buts about it, is, well, does a woman really need to go? Well, of course they want a career. And it's also ensuring that the woman is often the person juggling with family life as well as within the working environment. So get that right and get the support around you that will assist you in getting there.
Thank you very much. ChiChi, you're next.
What I would do is just to expand on what I'm doing already, to intentionally uplift, mentor and sponsor women and girls, to grow in confidence, and because of my background and lived experience, I know how this can affect people, especially people from ethnically diverse background. We see a lot of lack of confidence in young girls, and supporting them to lead with courage, realizing their full potential as well is very important. And also looking at the imposter syndrome, it is something that has really dominated women and girls, because oftentimes we do a lot of things but we don't shout out what we do. And when people when people really encourage us and say, oh, talk about what we do, we really shy away and say, oh, it's not me, because we just feel that as women we are there to give and give and give and not gain. And being a give to gain thing, you have given, you shout out what you have given, blow your trumpet, because if you do not blow that trumpet, people are not going to see what you're doing, people are not going to know what you can do, and other people are going to blow that trumpet for you, and when they blow it for you, it's going to lack the originality. Somebody else is not going to tell your story. You tell your story, and your story is the one that brings the uniqueness and authenticity, and also supporting them to lead and going in that way to understand that they can be whatever and get into any field that they want to get. So I'm doing that. I'm supporting students on placement, supporting young girls in choir in the community, but I think it's something I want to expand more and support many young girls and women to be more confident to engage in whatever they want to do with. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I think you've made us all feel quite passionate about that now, ChiChi. Great stuff. Mabrookah?
I'm not sure if many of you guys in my introduction because of microphone issues, but I started a women's empowerment group in Rotherham last year, and I hope in the next 12 months I will be continuing to commit to it, as I hope it will become a network for Black girls and women from ethnic minority backgrounds to develop soft skills, gain confidence, and most importantly, increase the youth participation in youth social action and volunteering. As I've noticed going along during my social action journey, particularly in Rotherham, there's a lack of engagement from girls from ethnic minority backgrounds, and I'm hoping by creating this empowerment group, I will hope to be someone that girls can look up to be able to say, oh, look, she's here, we can do it as well. So
thank you very much. ChiChi, have you still, is that a legacy hand or are you?
No, it's not a new hand.
Okay, Alicia.
I'd hope to create accessible pathways for young women, especially those who don't often get the opportunity or don't see themselves in like leadership positions. I think it's important for them to like get the opportunity and be able to see themselves in these kind of positions and different roles.
Great stuff. That's wonderful. And then Katharine had to drop off, but she said that her commitment was to help Rachel Hughes and the Simca Women's Network more actively. So that's great. So thanks for all those commitments. And I think for all of us listening in today, I think we all can think about what we might want to do and what we think might be able to help and how we might role model and how we might support. I think together we can achieve a great deal. So thank you so much to our panelists, and thank you for everybody that's joined us today.